So, previously I mentioned Chief Executive Officer Daniel Meade. Not because of anything against the guy, but it appears to me that he came into Alltel, which was GTE Wireless, to make some changes. He was brought on board to oversee the merger between Alltel and between GTE and Alltel, and eventually guide the merger between Alltel and Verizon. So I mention him because later on I'm going to get to something, but he eventually becomes the Chief Executive Officer of Verizon Wireless on or around 2009 or 2010. And within like 2 years of him taking over there, he begins to close call centers and to try, and I don't know if it's officially a reorganization, but I call him a hatchet man because it seems like wherever he goes, the hatchet starts, the axe starts to fall and people start losing their jobs. And that's exactly, I think, what the industry had done, is they would bring him around whenever they needed someone to do the job that nobody else wanted to do, like lay people off, close call centers. And I'm going to show a video here of Mr. Meade. Mr. Meade, when I knew him, he was a lot younger, because this is in the mid-90s when I knew him, and he kind of talked like an animatron. Hi, everybody here at GT Wireless. Thanks for coming to this meeting today. Page 2. Today we're going to talk about straight and tie, fixed collar. Talk about the fun changes we're all going to be going through here at GT Wireless. Page 3. I'm sure you're all going to enjoy the future that we have here together. Page 4. He was kind of like that, and he always had just the right thing to say. He was kind of like Bill Clinton. You'd say, is it true that you had sex with a brick wall? Well, let's talk about brick walls. Brick walls are hard surfaces, and they can be porous. Next question, please.
Daniel Meade. Mr. Meade, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be here with you, Tom.
Is all the good news out? We've seen Verizon just go, go, go. The stock has gone well. It's almost like too good to be true.
Us today, and we're going to do better tomorrow. And we focus on that in every aspect of our business.
You look at price as being determinant. Let's bring up this quote from Craig Moffett. I know Dan Meade, you know Craig Moffett.
It's on delivering the absolute best experience for every one of our customers. We're focused on the foundation of our network and the network quality, and we work to build the foundation of our value on our network, and then our business partners, the operating systems, and the devices. We're going to stay to that game plan.
Way of our New York City bus back there getting in the way of our interview. We like that. We like New York City buses here. But Dan Meade, are you going to take the bus later? Dan, no. Anyways, Dan Meade.
We do cost control every day. It's a way of doing business and make sure that we're doing the absolute best job we can for our shareholders. And we're going to continue to do that.
January 25th is our earnings announcement, so we're not making any comments on earnings or projections today. So that will be about the end of my comment along those lines.
What I love about your career at Verizon is you actually started out in the executive trenches. What did you learn the first day when you were out in the Midwest doing servicing for Verizon Wireless? Were you out there like answering all the irate phone calls from people like me?
I talk to customers all the time, and all of us at Verizon and Verizon Wireless spend a great deal of our time in our customer service centers, in our stores, and with our frontline employees. And we'll continue to do that. So I learn every day from our customers. They challenge us to do better. We focus on that, and we'll continue to focus.
I never think about our industry as a duopoly. It is wildly competitive. I think it's going to be competitive. Innovation is going to continue to make it so. And I think it's going to be extremely competitive forever.
But he retired in 2012, and between like 2009 and now, just recent 2018, he retired in 12. They started off layoffs around 10 or 11. They started closing call centers, and within the last couple of months, they closed like another 9. So he started the ball rolling. Somebody else took over for him. Another hatchet man came in. So, Mr. Meade, if you're watching this, I hope you're enjoying your time on your yacht in Tahiti. Page 3. I hope you have a nice mustache groomer there who will comb your hair as well for you. Page 2. Enjoy your time in retirement. I hope they gave you a good golden parachute. I hope you got my final email I sent you years ago about my horrible supervisor and the deplorable work conditions of Verizon Wireless. I'm sure your admin got it and went, "Hey, Dan, do you want to read this from a Pete Tompkins over there in the Arizona call center?" No, I would rather not. Thank you. So training commences with Frick and Frack. We started off with 36 people. After 2 weeks, we had 33 because 3 quit. So one day after about 2 weeks of training, we all leave for lunch at 12 o'clock. And every day we're asked to return at 1 o'clock on the dot. You have to be back at 1, which is fine. I have no problems with that. I've never had a problem with attendance or anything like that. So one day we come back, and 3 ladies stroll in late from lunch, about 10, 15 minutes late. And the trainer, which is Frick, the guy that looks like Pugsley from the Addams Family, he's standing there at the front of the room, and his face is like bright red. He's fuming. He's furious because he can't start training until everybody's back from lunch, allegedly. So he leaves the room, and he comes back in, and he slams the door, and he waddles up to the front of the room. He's like, "Okay, everybody. Now listen, we've got a schedule we got to keep in this classroom, and if you can't come back from lunch on time, then leave. Don't even come back. You're meant to be here at 1 p.m. on the dot, or don't come back to work at all. Do you understand me?" And he's just like, "Oh," and he's literally screaming at all of us at the top of his voice. His face is bright red. And in case you don't know this about the corporate world, in the corporate world, it's imperative that you have a level head. And you don't scream and you don't yell at people, especially in front of everybody else. Because number one, what it does is it demoralizes the people in the room. It also, from a corporate standpoint, opens the company up for all kinds of lawsuits and duress and things like that the company doesn't want to deal with. And they don't really care if you're being hurt. They just care that somebody can walk in and sue them. So this guy freaks out, screaming at us, yelling at us in his tirade, this fat boy tirade from Oklahoma, because I guess this is what steers do from Oklahoma. And so it's over. Day finishes. The day ends, and we go on with our day. Next day we walk in, and in walks Human Resources, the lady from Human Resources. And she comes in, and she's like, "Okay, everybody, we're going to have a little meeting. Let's go into the Sunset Meeting Room," because all the rooms in this building, in this call center, this is a million square foot building. But all the first floor was all meeting rooms and training rooms and a cafeteria, things like that. And she goes, "Let's everybody go into the Sunset Meeting Room," because all the meeting rooms were named after something in Arizona. Like there was the Sonoran Room, and there was the Prickly Pear Room, There was the Illegal Alien Room. No, I'm just kidding. So we all go in there, and there's now 33 of us because 3 people have quit in those 2 weeks. 33 people in this little tiny conference room with a big giant oval oak table with all the leather chairs, the high-backed leather chairs around it. Half of us are standing, half of us are sitting. She's like, "Okay, everybody, is everybody having fun in training? I just wanted to check and see how things are going in training today. Anybody have any concerns? Anything they want to talk about? Anything that really is bothering them? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge." That kind of thing. She didn't say wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but... So you can hear a pin drop in this room. And everyone's sitting on their hands. They're like, "I'm not saying anything." And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not saying anything and nobody should say anything in front of everybody else because, number one, they shouldn't be asking people what's happening in front of the whole group if there's a real concern, because number one, it's most people don't want to speak up in front of the group. Most people don't want to do, especially something about this, like this trainer freaking out. They don't want to have to be put on the spot in front of everybody else because they're afraid they'll get in trouble or they'll get peer pressure will beat them down. And it's a private matter. It's not something that should be brought up in front of the group. And another thing is that if you bring it up in front of the group, there's a good chance that other people from the group who like the trainer will go and tell the trainer that somebody spoke up about him. And then the people that spoke up will end up getting blackballed from the company. They'll find a way to work them out of the system. So anyway, finally, a couple ladies speak up, and they said, well, a couple people came back from lunch the other day, and they were late. And Frick flipped out. Frick started screaming at all of us, yelling at us, telling us, basically just reading us a riot act in a very unprofessional, horrible way. And HR said, well, that's really not professional. I'm sorry you had to go through that. We'll take care of it, so on and so forth. So the meeting ends, and the sad part about this whole thing is this gentleman trainer, Frick, I had been with the company 2 years, and at the end of my 2 years, right before I left, he was still with the company. So if that tells you something, this guy must have been either blowing somebody, or he had a lot of blow, or he had some way to keep his job, because he kept his job. This guy should not have even been anywhere near a corporate setting. He should have been working down at the corner bar slinging beers. There's no way this guy should have been in a corporate setting, but he was. So training commences, and then we start training with Frack, who was the skinnier version of Frick with the mullet and the goatee, who talks like that. And we had, about the fourth week, we had billing training with Frack. And I had alluded to it earlier in the video, but billing was just Frack standing there with the manual. He's with the manual. He's like, okay, today is billing, and we're going to start off on page 1. As you'll see in your manual, the number 1 is at the bottom. Let's flip to page 1. And at the top it says billing. All right. And billing is where people go to get their bills. And, they use their cell phones, and they tabulate and accumulate some usage, some data usage and texting. And part of your billing will be the texting. Part of the billing will be data. And part of it will be, the payment screen. And he went on and on and on like that for an entire week. 5 days straight of Frack talking with no emotion, no inflection, in a boiling hot room in the first floor of a 1 million square foot call center. Hey, Pete, are you sleeping over there? No, Frack. I'm wide awake. I just love your presentation skills. You're just a stellar corporate person. So, for me, I don't learn that way. I'm a hands-on learner. But the thing about this training duo, Frick and Frack, was that they would train Monday through Friday from 8 until 4. At 4 o'clock sharp, they would end training and say, okay, everybody. Well, they weren't quite that enthusiastic. They said, okay, everybody, what we're going to do today, what we're going to do at the end of each class is we're going to shut things down, and then we're just going to take a break, take a breather, because there's a lot to digest. So for the last hour of every day, they turned on the projection screen, and we'd watch silly videos. It's time to watch YouTube videos, and YouTube was fairly brand new, fairly new at the time. This is like 2009. And we'd watch videos of like cats playing a piano, or monkeys that could smoke cigarettes, or pigs that could juggle, or the silly, America's Got Talent type videos, or America's Funniest Videos, where the kid swings the baseball bat and hits his brother in the head by accident and puts him into a coma. It's so funny. An hour of every day they'd waste showing us silly videos or telling jokes and things like that. So one day after we were done with billing, I took Frack aside and said, hey, look, I'm not picking up some of this billing stuff. How about when you're showing everybody else videos? Can you and I just go over some things together? We can just go in a separate room. And he went, Pete, I can't do that. That's not something we can do. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Once you get out on the floor and you're taking calls, it'll all come together for you. Don't worry about it. Oh, no, really, I really need some help here. I'm really not picking some of this stuff up, and I'm not gathering it in your training, so I need some extra help. Oh, well, Pete, you don't need that extra help. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. But well, Don't worry, once you get on the floor, you'll be fine. This guy absolutely, positively would not help me. He would not assist anybody with anything additional. We would sit there every day and waste an hour. For 2 months, we sat there and watched hours of videos and silly jokes. And, you know, I'm to this day, I'm still baffled by their actions when it comes to this. So, after this long, arduous, torturous training in this windowless room in the first floor, this horrible call center where it's boiling hot, they put you in, I don't remember what they called the room, but it was like a pre-call center room. It was post-training, but before they put you out on the phones with your real team. And it was a small room with about 100 people in it, 100 cubicles. And you would take live calls from supposedly live customers. And you would get like a little flag that every station had a flag. I don't know, this is a microphone stand, but it would be like a little plastic handle with an orange flag or a pom-pom on the end. And if you got a call from a customer that you didn't understand the question, you didn't know how to answer it, you'd hold up the pom-pom and you'd shake it, or the flag would shake it. And a team coach from this post-training room, miniature call center, would come running over, and they'd listen to the call, and they'd help you navigate and help you find the answer to the question. Well, there were supposed to be 4 trainers in the room at any given time. But as the days progressed in this miniature pre-call center training room, the coaches gradually disappeared. Like the first few days, they're all there, and they're all like gung-ho. And
they're like, hey everybody, this is fun, we're going to have fun, just wave your pom-pom and we'll come running over and help you, you know?
Then after about 4 days to a week, they disappeared. You'd come in at the beginning of the shift, and they'd be there for a couple hours, and they'd all disappear. They'd all go out in like cigarette breaks, or going to meetings, or they'd go off, I don't know, playing with themselves in the bathroom or something. They were never there. So once you get through training, and once you get through the pre-training thing of this Verizon Wireless call center, they would put you on the floor. And when I say the floor, it's the main call center floor where the real calls come in, and you've got a team, you've got a manager, and all the calls count. When you're in the pre-call center room, the calls don't count. You're not held accountable for mistakes. There's a huge learning curve and things like that. I got to get my kickstart in here. Here's a plug for Mountain Dew. I'm sure they'll flag this video for that. You can't talk about Mountain Dew, you son of a bitch. Anyway, so you get on the main floor, and you get introduced to your supervisor. My first supervisor, was the little Mexican lady I've mentioned in other videos. And I call her the chismosa lady because she was Mexican, and she was about 5'2" and 115 pounds soaking wet, and she had long brown hair, and she had her upper teeth. You could tell they weren't her natural upper teeth. They were capped. And I know they were capped because my mother had caps on her front, because my mother's top front teeth were really bad, and she had them replaced with caps. And there are these huge, they look like beaver teeth. And she walked around like this, with this big smile on her face at all times, because she was always chismosa. And I know chismosa now is a Spanish word meaning gossip. So she was this little Mexican, skinny, and she was pretty. She was an attractive lady. So I go out, I meet her, I meet the team, and the team is like 20 people of all races, creeds, colors, sexes, and everything else. And they're like, hey, everybody. She goes, hey, everybody, I want you to meet the team member. It's Peter, Pedro. And I'm like, hey. So she goes, everybody go into not ready. Not ready is a status you put your phone in, so no more phone calls come into your headset. So they all log out of their phones, and they spin around in their chairs like the one I have here. They're like, hey. And like, hey, everybody, this is Pedro. How are you doing? Say hi to Pedro. I'm like, hey, Pete, what's going on, man?